Hey everyone, Spanners here for an Abu Dhabi qualifying reaction. It's not well researched. I haven't seen the post interviews and it's not scripted. I just make it all up. I just make it up on the spot. So I'm not selling it very well, am I? But this is skippable. It's non-canon. Just like to do some thoughts after I've been, online talking to everybody for the race. Now I feel like I want to talk to you in real. Well, as close to real as we can get. So gonna talk about this Saturday, and I have a few thoughts. I'm going to start with the big thing, really, which has been the teamwork element from both factions. I guess all three factions. Now, all of the season, Zach Brown has been saying, I would rather launch my mother off with a trebuchet over a wall. It's a catapult, actually, Zach, than be unfair. I do not want this driver's title. Driver's title, gross, yuck. And then, obviously, it's come to the final race of the season. Will you issue team orders? And the big one is, will you tell Oscar to give up third place for Norris in fourth place to win the championship? And he's gone, well, yeah, you've got to have some common sense. Of course you've got to do that. Yeah, of course you have. Yeah, we all know that. We all think it's common sense. It's just very against what they've been saying. And he sort of claimed like, no. This is what it's been like all along. I'm sure there was talk of mathematically being out of the championship before that would happen. And I guess if Verstappen crosses the line, Russell crosses the line, is Piastri technically out of it at that point? He would be 10 points behind. So yes, he would not be able to catch Max Verstappen at that point. So the second place crosses the line. He's mathematically eliminated. Lando Norris has been sweating it out, and then he'll let him over just as they go over the line. So yeah, I think even before he's mathematically eliminated, it's going to become very clear if only one of them can win the championship. And I'm glad. I'm not criticizing the decision to make the swap. I'm just having a little laugh about how they kind of, how they've been all season. I get it. I get the intention. I really do. I get the sentiment of wanting things to be fair and not picking a number one. I think they didn't think how hard it was going to be. Yeah, I did. I think between them, Piastri and Norris have made it difficult because Norris underperformed at the beginning of the season and Piastri was just collecting all the nuts off the floor like a talented little squirrel, stuffing them in his cheeks for later in the season, for the winter since Zandvoort, where he's had to chew on all his stored nuts. So they're saying they will do those team orders, but obviously they couldn't help themselves each other during qualifying because they're still directly competing at that point. If Piastri had gotten pole with Norris down in 8th, things would have been really, really interesting going into tomorrow. As it turns out, the order we've got, in any order of the top 3 being the top 3, would have been the most, boring result, really. The one, because those cars are so much faster on race pace than the likes of Mercedes, probably, definitely of Ferrari. We will have to cover Ferrari at some point, and the rest. That you've got to think those 3 will disappear unless Max pulls a steroids version of Lewis Hamilton in 2016 when he was backing up Nico Rosberg, hoping that Vettel would do something about it. No, I don't think I will, said Sebastian Vettel. And I think a lot of the drivers in the interviews this weekend have just said, you don't want to be the one who's getting in the way. You don't want to be the Latifi. No one wants the Latifi tag, I think, as Matt put it in the preview. But the other side of this rivalry with Verstappen, definitely teamwork in play. Now, the funniest one is Fernando Alonso, I think in Q2, giving Verstappen a tow and going, we were doing it all through practice as well. He gave me a tow in Q1, so, it's all worked out. Now, people honestly gave me grief online when I was just posted, hey, Verstappen's got 4 other cars helping him. A quarter of the grid is actively pro Verstappen. And, Alonso, he's publicly said, I want to help. Last season, he was saying, I want to help Max. And it was a bit more playful, I think people thought. But really, he is actively doing it. If for some reason Verstappen ends up behind Alonso, Hadjar, Lawson, or Tsunoda, he's going to be let straight through. They will jump out of the way very quickly and then pull back in and then block the cars behind. So the whole a conspiracy theory that Alonso is helping them is no, of course he is. Russell made an interesting comment as well, because they must have been best buddies at the dinner, the Hamilton drivers' dinner that he put on, or at least paid for. I think he organised it as well. But yeah, there must have been some agreement, because Russell came out with a comment of, if you put me out while Verstappen's doing his in-lap, I think Max will give me a tow. Now, you could interpret that a few ways. You could interpret that as, oh, that's just really clever. As it turned out, it was unlikely to work, because you want to wait till as late as possible with track evolution and temperature. So it's unlikely to work, because his in-lap will be too late. It will be after the zeros come down, after the flag. And so, yeah, you can't time the outlap, because that would have to be on the cooperation of Verstappen. Verstappen would have he'd have to be the one to time it to make sure he was giving Russell a tow. But I reckon they must have talked through that scenario or something, just as mates, just hanging out. Look, hang on, I've done the maths here, because Russell sounds like a clever lad. I've done the maths here. If I get in between you and the McLarens, that's your best chance, isn't it, of you winning the title? All right, in quali, if we get a chance, give me a tow. Give me a tow. I won't get in your way. I just want my podium. Am I seeing conspiracies where there are none? Am I moving in the shadows? Is that a leopard in the bush? Or is it the wind, the rustle of the wind? I think it's a leopard, though. I think it's a leopard in this one. I think it's far more tribal there than people realise. Or you just go, in the case of Russell, that's in his best interest to help, isn't it? He's always looking for a grift. He's looking for a way up the grid. But what if we put on inters now? That's the last thing they'll be expecting. I'm going to zig while they zag. He does that all the time, like Jensen. Jensen Button used to be like that too. Zig when they zag. And and then obviously you've got the two racing bulls. Now, Tsunoda gave a tow in Q3. And that was depressing for me as a Tsunoda fan. That's his last qualifying, and he just had to pass the butter. Sorry, that's a Rick and Morty reference where Rick makes a sentient robot at the table. The robot comes alive and goes, oh, here I am. Like, what am I? What can I do? And he goes, pass the butter. Passes the butter, and then looks up at Rick and says, what is my purpose? You pass the butter. And this robot's like, oh my God. And that's Tsunoda today. My final race, I'm really going to go for pole. I'm going to show everyone, because you've given me a decent car now, so that I can be useful in the champion. I'm going to show everyone my real talent and how you're making a mistake. And they're like, no, Yuki, you pass the butter. So he passed the butter. He helped Verstappen get a monster lap, but actually then Verstappen beat that on his own. But then again, track evolution and maybe temps. I don't know how much they came into. You need Matt here to figure that in. But normally there's a little bit of evolution. So yeah, that was depressing. That's Tsunoda's last qualifying, on his way out, and there's not really much to hope for tomorrow. I cannot see him getting through the field and being a factor unless Max does the thing that I think he should do. Now, I think Verstappen is definitely of hey, I'm pretty happy. I got pole. I was never really in this fight anyway. If it lands on my lap tomorrow, great. If not, I'm fully expecting to clap politely on the podium, congratulate Norris or Piastri, and then most likely Norris, and then wander off and have a nice winter break. He seems very happy. He seemed very happy. God, his partner properly greeted him. I would say, and I'm not one to comment on these sorts of things normally, I would say that that's an inside kiss. That's an at-home kiss that Verstappen got. If my wife did that to me while I was like presenting an award or something, I'd be like, what are you doing? We are in public. But no, it's fine. You do you. My general philosophy, leave people alone. I just went, oh, hello. That definitely looks like an inside kiss to me. So yeah, so he seems very happy. He'll be fine. He'll go and do the job. But he's also got Hadjar, who was delighted to get into Q3. I think he ended up, I haven't got it in front of me. It's 6 or 7, something like that. And then Lawson P11, I think, got knocked out. But why don't they... See, people think that I'm anti the second Red Bull team. And they're right. I am against that concept in general. But I am also pro customer teams. And I acknowledge that Williams and Pink Force Indias, or whoever it was when they were Force India, have at times helped Lewis Hamilton and have helped Mercedes, and I've catalogued that. I'm not pretending that Red Bull they're doing an extreme version of that thing, and to me, definitely crosses a line because they used to say for ages 2 entirely separate teams. We have nothing to do with it, and then you sort of realise that Christian Horner was directly managing those drivers, and obviously and their contracts and swapping them in and out, and it's very obvious that it's a team with two. They have to make separate cars, but they are fundamentally the same organisation. That's not controversial now at all. I think that's different from having a little bit of influence over your customer team, or even just being friends. I suppose people could just be friends, like Alonso is. Alonso's just doing it not for a business reason. He's just being a pal. Yeah, I'll give you a tow. I'll help you out. But, okay, one example was in Monaco, he was going to get stuck behind one of the Alpines. I think it might have been Ocon at the time, and you saw Toto Wolff storming down to the Force India pit box, and then sure enough, yeah, it wasn't for like a genuine position. It was for an on-track position, but they were out of sync. So on net, Ocon was behind, but it's like, don't get in the way. And a team might have taken that decision anyway to go, why are we going to compromise any of our lap time? But it's Monaco, so a lot of times drivers do get held up. Yeah, and then I've said my piece with the spicy engine as well, and how I think they managed to do that, and how they managed to develop that. So it's not that I'm like, I'm anti this specific thing, but also I'm pro people using those things. I would use those things. Those things are on the table. It would seem strange to not use a tool available to you, because where do you draw the line? No, we shan't use our DR. We've got DRS advantage, but we shan't use it. We'll lift and coast to even it out. Oh, we've got an engine advantage, but we shan't use a higher power mode because that would be unfair. Well, we've got a second team, but we're not going to use them. I like the tactics. I liked Perez defending in 2021. And, I still think that it's underrated how key Perez's contribution to that was. But I think without Perez, they would have pitted again, and Lewis would have had slightly newer tyres. But they didn't want to risk being behind Perez again. So he did a great job. Boo, obviously, but yeah, he did that job. I don't mind those tactics. Definitely didn't mind Lewis Hamilton trying to back up Rosberg in 2016, and so here you've got to kind of utilize the teams. Now, how dirty is this plan of fueling Hadjar and Lawson, or one of them, a third? So they're super light. Don't worry about a tyre wear in that first stint. Maybe even give them soft tyres. I don't know. It depends how it hands out. But, a flat out beginning of a medium tyre stint on a third of fuel, low downforce. I'm hoping they went low downforce, and they did qualify well. So I'm hoping they did go a bit low downforce. Oh, remind me. You can't, because it's not live. Talk about Piastri's downforce as well. So just get them in there to go, right, well, if you get a great start, you're lighter, can you get up to the McLarens and do something? Can you nick one of them? If Norris has a bad start and you gain 3 positions from 6th, you're suddenly on Norris's tail. You're in the game. That's it. You're in. And then, can't believe, after you've held up Norris and given Max a pit window, I'm feeling a vibration, guys. I've got to go off. Now, is that cheating? Because if on merit, Tsunoda or Hadjar got ahead and started backing up Norris, would that be cheating? I think no. I think we've seen that. We saw it at Monaco. We saw people deliberately holding people up so that their teammates could do that second enforced pit stop. So, yeah, we wouldn't consider that cheating. So is the act of fueling it to a third, are you allowed to deliberately underfuel your car? Well, I mean, you can deliberately underfuel your car, and then it's your problem to go and lift and coast, isn't it? That's a lot of the time is why they do the lift and coast. You underfuel hoping for a safety car. Could they do it? Could they do it? Oh, I haven't really talked about qualifying much here, have I? No, I've just talked about the championship thing. Oh, sorry about that. Well, I mean, okay, FP1. Firstly, we had Lewis Hamilton crashing in FP3. In FP3, yeah. And that was an odd one. And I was looking there at their analysis, and they're blaming like taking the curb as if it was the same as taking the grass. It didn't look like that to me. To me, and I'm not Ant Davison, but whatever. I can't always just go, oh, well, Ant Davison or Alex Brundle said this, and I'll just shut up then. Oh, I disagree. Yeah, but Jolyon Palmer said that. Oh, I'll just go sit in a cupboard then, shall I? I'm just going to always give you my opinion, all right? So in my opinion, that was strange because it didn't like snap off of the curb or something, like you would with a wet line. In fact, Jolyon Palmer in Monaco did it on a crossing, didn't it? And as soon as that power suddenly has less resistance off the curb, it just goes. And here, he seemed to sort of successfully get off. He seemed to successfully get off of that curb, and then it went. So yeah, he said he felt something buckle. He said he felt something go. So driver error or mechanical, who knows? The last time I saw him do something like that I can think of is the German Grand Prix qualifying Q2 2018. I think so. I think that's when the last, and that was, I think, a rear brake failing. Hit the brake, nothing happened, spun, hit the wall as a passenger, rear first. I wonder if I'm right about that. If I'm right about that, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I haven't got the exact session that exact incident happened. I want to be wrong. So, okay, so we'll leave that one open, I guess, but it's really depressing to see him go out again because after the first runs in Q1, he's P4. After the first runs, he's P4. No, well, he had a medium run. I think that was just like a shakedown just to check that the repairs were okay. But then Leclerc also went on a medium run of his first of 2 runs. I don't know. Stop trying to interpret what Ferrari do. But yeah, so the first of his proper runs, P4. We're fine. We're great. Let's end this season on a high. And then no, just starts chunking down the grid. And his final run, I think he loses 7/10 in the final corner and in the final sector. And it's 0.00008 of a second off in 16th place. And right, honestly, I thought I was watching like a funeral or something. It was like watching someone's soul disappear when he was interviewed in the pen. And they said, we're going to go to Hamilton in the pen now. I'm like, oh, God, I don't want to listen to this. And they clearly had some problem with the video and they stopped it and then they rewound it live. So they obviously didn't have it quite queued up right with the sound or something. And I was like, when it froze, I thought, thank goodness. Phew, I don't want to hear from him. And he was just like a couple of words, just 2 words like, And Rachel Brooks interviewing on Sky just had to feed him enough of an answer. I think they must have a contract where they say you must answer at least 2 questions with Sky. And I think he's blaming himself. He's apologized for that mistake, I guess for mistakes in the final sector. But the car looks like a pig. And Leclerc is a bit higher, but Leclerc is a driver who should really be up at the front, and he is struggling as well. It looks horrible. To me, I think once the younger Leclerc or baby Leclerc, like Mario Kart, isn't it? You've got Leclerc and baby Leclerc. Woohoo! I think I would have just gone after that crash in FP3, just put him back in. Just put Chucky's brother back in there. Too depressing. I can't. I'm not even going to be watching where Hamilton is tomorrow and roll on 2026 or retirement, whichever he chooses. Hulkenberg out, the Alpines dead last. Jeez, I hope they are tanking this season for wind tunnel time because ooh-wee, that is bad from Alpine. Yeah, Yuki just scraping through there as well. So one of his better qualifying sessions, except in Q1 where, far too close for comfort. In fact, there must have just been a lot of track evolution towards the FP1 end. Yeah, Hamilton going from 4th down to 16th. Yeah, that's more kind of street track that had rained the night before kind of track evolution. Yeah, and Piastri in that session was much faster, wasn't he? He was like 0.5 seconds ahead. And thanks for reminding me. Yes, let's talk about their downforce levels. People were celebrating that in our Patreon chat, the Aussies were. And I was like, oh, that's actually a little bit worrying. If he's that much faster, has he done, say, what Verstappen did last year in Austria during the sprints, where he ended up just going to qualifying setup? Now, interestingly, the McLaren garages aren't sharing data. And apparently Stella has talked about Piastri using Norris's data. And so they've done their practice sessions and had to come up with what they think will be the better setup. And it looks like Norris has gone higher downforce. And so the simplistic characteristics of that will be Piastri tyres will fire up quicker because you might get a little bit more sliding. And I know a lot of the other drivers were complaining about the rears being gone. So I think Antonelli was complaining about having no rear as well as Russell as well. And then so maybe, Piastri on that first lap, he's got lots of tyre temp, so his tyres are nice and sticky, and he's got the less drag from the lower wing, and so he was faster on the straights. He was faster on the straights, and that I noticed that in FP1 or 2 as well. And then it was confirmed on the comms, yeah, Piastri is running a lower downforce wing. So when it comes to the race, though, you get it fired up nice and quickly, and then you have to worry about the tyre overheating. So both thermal deg losing performance because the tyres are heating up, maybe you get the rear spinning up, the core is hot, or actual wear as well. So will that be then a factor as we get towards the end of those stints? Who knows? But look, he's got to roll the dice and go all out, and probably track position is going to be really important tomorrow. And Verstappen has it. and Piastri didn't quite manage it. So didn't quite manage it in the end. And it looks like he said he did his best lap. So the other factor here could have been that Norris just took a little bit of time getting going, and actually Piastri and he are roughly even. But yeah, interesting to see how that develops in the race, because obviously that could make Norris vulnerable to struggling to overtake as well if he's running higher downforce. What should Verstappen do tomorrow? Hang on. Was there anything in FP3? No. I said already the most boring possible outcome, really, to have the top three up ahead. That gives Verstappen much less chance to do. He's got to do something. If he just disappears off into the distance and goes and wins the race and goes, what will be, fine. That's allowed. You're allowed to do that. But you've got 4 friendly cars behind you. How long have I prattled on for this time? 21 minutes. Oh, no, it's only 18, isn't it? Because it took me a couple of attempts to get this going. The first one wasn't my fault. My studio was too hot and I was wearing like a jumper thing. And then the second time was Cat's. But the third time, that was my fault. So Max has 5 cars behind him. Yeah, it would be really unimaginative, I think, just to give it up. And as relaxed as he is, I don't know. I don't think he's going to do that. What you need to be doing is backing that pack up. So let's hope for his sake he's got a setup. I didn't just out myself as a Verstappen fan. For his sake, he's got a setup where he's hard to overtake. If he's hard to overtake, that means he can do what Perez did in 21 and just go slow through the hotel section. And by the way, the people in the hotel, can you turn that music down, please? I don't want to hear the thud of your music every time the camera goes to that angle. Get off my lawn. And so backing those guys up, it's going to be quite a tough ask to back them up to the sort of pace where, say, the Hadjar wants to get involved. I do need to look up these qualifying results, don't they? F1 quali results. But you might be able to do it to the point that Russell can get involved. And then you say, okay, well, would Russell get involved? Or would he be like Albon, who says you don't want to be the guy who interferes? Or would he be like Hamilton said similar as well? I don't think Russell will think like that. I think Russell will just think, oh, good, that's another place. So here we go. Yeah, the orders, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, Russell. I think Russell will just think, yeah, good, another place. And he'll go for it. So if Verstappen can back them up into Russell, I think he'll do it. And this is obviously assuming that they all get off and stay in their starting positions. Leclerc would look at the positions above and go, I sure wish I didn't have to lift off 100 meters before the corner. Oh, well, bye, guys. Have a great race. When you finish, say hi to my brother for me. I'm going to be a while back here. Lyco! I hope he Lycos into Parc Ferme or into the pit lane at the end as well. Just one final Lyco for the season. And then Alonso is the next behind. Oh, Hadjar ended up 9th in the end. Do you know what it was? He was 6th in FP in qualifying 2. Yeah, back him up to Alonso. Alonso in 6th. They looked fairly quick, the Aston Martins. I reckon they'll be hard to overtake as well. So yeah, of course, yeah, Alonso will definitely. And Bortoletto as well. Bortoletto, I'm going to be like the kids now. He glazes. He glazes Verstappen. I hope I'm using that right. Yeah, so there's a lot of friendly faces behind for Verstappen. If he can just hold them up through the hotel section, through the higgledy-piggledies under the hotel, onto the start-finish straight, and then stay ahead on those 2 big straights. It's not over. It's not impossible. And it just means one of those guys has got to stick it on Norris, who you'd think would be in a DRS train at that point. So that cuts down some of the problems of the high downforce. But yeah, it's not over. It's not over. It's not an ultimately exciting position. Norris doesn't have to fight from the back of the grid or something. Yeah. So I think once they get through lap one, turn one, I think it's going to settle in, and it could get very slow. It could be that meme of that old person walking down the stairs and everybody trying to get past behind them. Yeah, it's not over. It's not over. Verstappen has 4 Red Bulls, 1 Alonso, and a Gabriel Bortoletto. So it's not over, but that is the last qualifying review of the season, reaction. Join us tomorrow at around 8 p.m. I don't know who's on. Well, better check. I've got a crew. Yes, I do. Van Geen's on. Van Geen and Matt Trumpets. So we will see you then. Bye.